Welcome to Week 2's Commissioner Report. I am the Commissioner Sam Tremper, and with me as always is my man Juice Pothier here. I'm not going to waste any time this week. Let's just get right into it with a recap of Week 1. Take it away, Juice.
Let's do it. Let's start with our game.
Let's do it.
Dip Switchers versus Kids Assassins. Low-scoring affair.
Harry.
By our starters, not by our bench. Our bench scored 159 points combined. Good picks on our part. Arian Foster alone, 52 points, sitting on my bench.
Yeah, told you he was the sleeper of the year.
I should have listened to you. But luckily, my boy Phillip Rivers,
Your boy, clearly.
purposely did not complete that last touchdown pass, which would have given Sam the win. Thank you, Phillip. I'll make it up to you. Thanks to that, I was able to pull out a 111-109 victory.
Joda, Team Joda took on the Queen Anne Cameron
Diaz.
Good enough for me. The Queen Anne crew. Now, in the Best Buddy Fantasy Football League, there is simply only one team that can lose a game when the opposing team's starting quarterback plays one quarter and scores 1 point, and that team is Team Joda. Kevin Cobb scored 1 point in the quarter he played for the Queen Anne Queerbaits, while Joda had 5 of 9 starters score in single digits. But the big difference in this game was Queen Anne's wide receivers. Miles Austin, Roddy White, and Hines Ward scored a combined 85 points en route to a 135-102 blowout victory over Team Joda.
Tough loss, Joda. Alright, VadCav and the Rogies. Oh, you were wrong about Joda's team. There is another team that can lose, even though the opposing quarterback only plays 1 quarter. And that team is the Rogies. Matt Stafford, separated shoulder in the first quarter, 2 fantasy points, and a 125-115 victory for the VadCav. Tough loss, Ryan.
Good win, Jared. Next up, we have the Baki Brothers Showdown. The 2 rookies went head-to-head in Week 1. Jeremy's starting backup running backs scored him a whopping 3 points.
Nice.
And that includes Beanie Wells' 0 on the bench.
That's good.
As big brother, bigger, older, and clearly wiser brother Teddy rolls 124-78.
And last up, we got UCP versus Brant. UCP had a simple, average, basic, dominating performance over Brant. He can thank the Pats offense for running up the score on the Bengals, allowing Carson Palmer to air it out in garbage time to the tune of 32 fantasy points.
A little better than his career average of like 17.
Yep. And you thought I had a bad day with my bench? Brant's bench, 97 points. So thank you, Brant, for making me look better. And that's probably why you lost 131-109.
Nice. Nice work. All right, for our next segment, we're going to go give you our top 10 stardom or situm fantasy players of the week. And for that, backed by popular demand,
You asked for him, you got him.
Mr. Personality, Ryan Rosen.
All right, let's bring him back.
Come on down, Ryan. Good
Thanks
to
for
have
being
you
here.
back. It is a pleasure to have you back. Take a seat here in the hot seat once again, my friend. All right, top 10 stardom or situm as proposed to you by Ryan Rosen. Let's get to it. Bernard Berrien is first up on our list. Typically a 10 to 15 point average guy, nice and consistent. Rough week last week. What do you think this week? Stardom or situm?
Situm.
Okay, last week, the Eli Manning-led Giants passing offense blew up, and Hakeem Nicks and Steve Smith were right at the center of that. Hakeem Nicks and Steve Smith, both with big days. Nicks had 3 touchdowns. Who do you like better this week to play? Steve Smith or Hakeem Nicks?
Situm.
Randy Moss is on Revis Island this week. Revis Island, however, is not at 100%. What do you like Randy Moss's chances against him? Start him or sit him?
Start him.
Because Revis Island is not a... Yeah. Ryan Matthews, 3 yards a carry or so last week. Not a big performance from a potential sleeper. What do you think? What do you like his chances this week? Start him or sit him?
Sit him.
Matt Forte, Start him or sit him.
Start him.
Eli Manning going against big brother Peyton. Start him or sit him.
Sit him.
No Sean Moreno going up against the Pete Carroll-led new revamped
Sit 'em.
defense in Seattle. Beanie Wells is questionable this week. Start him or sit him.
Start him.
Justin Forsett.
Start him.
Jamal Charles had an interesting week last week. Had a couple big runs against what was supposed to be a good San Diego defense. And this week he's up against Cleveland. Start him or sit him.
Let's just move on.
Okay, thank you, Ryan.
Thanks,
Start him
Ryan.
or sit him this week. Good to have you, Ryan. Thanks for coming out. Juice,
All right.
nice to have you back, sir.
Good to be back.
Okay, next segment, please. This segment, we're going to give you our picks for this week's matchups. Let's get right to it and start off with Juice picking the Assassins versus the Light Switch.
All right. Assassins are favored by 26 in this one. Phillip Rivers, I like his matchup against Jacksonville. He's going to go off. Jeremy, nice job getting Marion Barber. That's definitely an improvement. I don't think it's going to be enough, though. I'm picking the Assassins, but I don't think they cover the 26.
No cover. I agree with you. Phillip Rivers, I think, is going to have a big week for me against Jacksonville. Marion Barber, any starting running back is an upgrade for Jeremy's team. Drew Brees facing San Francisco's defense, who gave up 30 fantasy points last week to Matt Hasselbeck. You would think if he can get 30, Brees should be able to pick up about 130.
He's going off, yeah.
However, I think the difference maker is going to be Sebastian Janikowski getting one of those 75-point bonus field goals for going over 70. You all know what I mean. We
Yeah.
talked about it last week. I like myself in this one, and I like myself to cover.
Yeah, he's the X factor.
Des Moines Slashers, Queen Anne, former Queer Baits, top 2 scoring teams from week 1 matching up in this one.
Good matchup.
San Diego's defense looked bad, looked real bad against the run in Kansas City last week. I like Maurice Jones-Drew to go off big for the Slashers. I don't know if it's going to be enough. I think the big difference here is going to be those receivers again for Queen Anne. I like them to have another big week, those 3. Probably not a repeat performance, but it'll be good enough to take over the Slashers. The 36-point spread, though, I don't like them to cover. I like them to maybe, at most, win by 30.
I agree with you. I agree Queen Anne's going to win this one. Dave's got a new quarterback, Kyle Orton. Jamal Charles is going to see a lot more carries this week. I think they win, but they don't cover.
Agreed.
Next up, Teddy Kading versus the Vag Cav. Teddy is actually favored by 17 in this one.
Really?
Bit of a
So,
surprise.
Very.
Matt Forte, no way he scores another 44 points.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Jared picks up Eli Manning to take over for Matt Stafford. Joe, sorry buddy.
Ouch. That hurts.
Eli going against Big Bro. I don't know. I shouldn't, but I'm going to pick the Vag Cav.
You like the Vag Cav?
Yeah.
I think Matt Schaub throws 20, 25 more passes than he did last week, regardless of what Arian Foster is doing. That guy's going to throw, and he's going to throw a lot for Teddy Kading. But the big difference, I think, in this game, I don't see Steven Jackson having the game that the Vag Cav expect him to have against the Oakland Raiders. They played a nice game against Chris Johnson last week.
They look good.
Balled him up for the most part, couple big runs to get him his numbers regardless, but I don't think Steven Jackson has enough, and I like Teddy Kading in this one to pull off the upset, even though they're favored. I think they pull off the win in an upset, and I think they cover it. Next, we got you, the Beer and Dip Switchers, against the Sledge Rogies. Ocho Cinco for the Rogies, another big week. We'll see. He's pretty inconsistent usually. Tim Hightower is fumble prone, or is he? I still say that was not a fumble against the Rams
I
last
agree.
week. I don't think it was a fumble at all. I think they got it wrong, and I think they wasted everyone's time by replaying it. Peyton over Eli, though, you gotta love that matchup for you. Peyton Manning gonna put up his numbers. Put up 51 in a losing effort last week. I think he puts up another 35 plus, and I think the Dip Switchers, who are only a 2-point favorite, I think they absolutely roll and cover easy.
Thanks, buddy.
No
I appreciate that, and I agree with you. I got Ahmad Bradshaw going against that Indy defense. We saw what Arian Foster did against them. And speaking of Arian Foster, I'm not going to play him. I don't think he does what he does last week. We'll see if that comes back to bite me, but I'm going to take myself to cover.
Yeah, clearly to cover. It's gonna happen.
Last up, we got Brant, favored by 13 over Joda. Brant was desperate to improve his team this week after a loss last week, I think.
Ah, yes, sir.
I think we'll get more into that.
Yeah.
We'll get more into that in the next segment.
The team improvement.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. Joda's got Welker versus the Jets. He usually does pretty well against the Jets while Matt Moss is getting bottled up by Revis. Oh, my gut's saying go with Joda, but I think Brant wins, but he's not going to cover the 13.
Not going to cover the 13. I agree. Welker, big day probably against the Jets. Cromartie is going to be shadowing him a lot. I don't think Cromartie is going to handle those little underneath routes that he runs. I also like Brant to win this game, but I like him to cover, and I like him to cover big, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't see Team Joda getting over the disappointment of knowing that Eli Manning is not on their team, nor will he be on their team this year, it looks like.
That's going to haunt you all year, Joe.
That's going to be the factor if Brant covers the 13. Next up, we're going to talk about the block, and you know I'm talking about the trading block. I got my man Juice Padre here to give you all the inside scoop on the trades or not trades of the week.
Keyword is not in that one. We have a lot of action going, a lot of offers being thrown out. I don't think any of them were accepted. First off, Brent Rosen. He's wanted by the Best Buddy Police for 2 counts of attempted trade rape on Dave Carter.
Oh, wait. Did you say Dave Carter?
I did.
Is wanted. No.
No, Brant is wanted.
For on Dave?
Yeah.
That can't be right. Dave's the trade rapist? That's why he got Roethlisberger, isn't it?
Usually. But Brant's turning the tables on it, and I appreciate it, Brant.
We all do.
Trade offer from Brant number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Brant gets Ray Rice, Miles Austin,
Wow.
and Big Ben, the rapist Roethlisberger. Dave gets Pierre Thomas, Bad Steve Smith, and Jay Cutler. What do you think?
I think Dave's desperate for quarterbacks, but I can't see that he's that desperate.
Nobody's that desperate. I think Dave rejected that one. So Brant counters with a much better deal. Brant gets Miles Austin, LaShawn McCoy, and the rapist. Dave gets the Bad Steve Smith, Cadillac Williams, and Jay Cutler. Much better, right? You got
well, I mean, it's the counter offer to a trade that got declined. It's
supposed to be
gotta
better,
be
right?
better, right? So it must be better. I think, and he still declined it.
I think Dave rejected that one too. But Brant, I like where you're going with that.
We all appreciate it.
And speaking of Dave, he had to get into the
There it
mix
is.
as well. You
There
know
it
he
is.
wasn't going to let a week go by without a bad offer. So, so I pick up Michael Vick on waivers. Dave follows by picking up Kyle Orton on waivers, and then proceeds to offer me Kyle Orton for Michael Vick straight up. What do you think?
Well, let me hold on. So you pick up Vic,
Correct.
then he picks up Orton,
Correct.
then he offers you Orton for Vic.
Straight up. Yeah.
Right?
What do you think?
I think if you wanted Orton, you'd have picked him up instead of
I
Vic.
think so too, Dave. That's why we love you, though, buddy. Last up, Jeremy, the rookie, getting into the trade conversation.
He did indeed.
He saw last week's commissioner's report that Peterson was on the block, and he offers Larry Fitzgerald for him straight up. That's to you. What do you think of that one?
Second pick in the draft for 13th or so pick in the draft. Declined, but I like where your head's at, and it's a good starting off point.
He's a rookie, so he throws back an offer at you, Larry Fitzgerald and Darren Sproles for Adrian Peterson.
So, Larry Fitzgerald for
Yeah,
Adrian
you're right.
Peterson.
It's the same trade, basically. All right, final offer from Jeremy. Fitzgerald and Dwayne Bowe for AP. That would, how many wide receivers would that give you?
Oh, 6.
Oh, 6. Yeah, that's against league regulations, Jeremy. He can't do that one.
Sorry. For our final